going to a music conference can be pretty overwhelming between all of the panels that you want to go to, all of the people there are to meet, and all of the money that you are probably spending just to get there. You want to make sure that you make your time count. So whether it's the Taxi Road Rally or PMC, they're not just about plastering out a ton of business cards as much as they are about creating real human connection. And so on this week's episode, I want to talk about going to these conferences, what you should bring, how you should approach networking, and some very simple strategies that can turn handshakes into long-lasting relationships. What is happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 52 Qs podcast, where each week we talk all about the world of production and library music. My name is Dave Kropf, and not only am I a composer, I am also a full-time professor of music composition, and it is so good to be with you here today, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the audio podcast on the go. Also, as always, a huge word of thanks to the family, friends, and neighbor subscribers of 52 Qs who are composers just like you looking to write better music and find success in the sync music industry. And 52 Qs is there to help with workshops, Zoom feedback sessions, live streams, pitching to libraries, and a ton more. If you want to join us, you can head over to 52qs.com, or you can stick around because I'm going to be talking about the program a little bit later. Speaking of a little bit later today, I do have a cue that I'm going to be playing for you, and this is a cue that is an ominous intrigue cue called Shanks for the memories, so you definitely want to stick around for that. But let's go ahead and jump into today's topic, which is what you need to know before going to your next music conference. And I want to start with understanding why networking really matters. I mean, in this day and age of Zoom and LinkedIn and decentralized entertainment industry, is face-to-face networking still important? I believe yes, because a 2-minute conversation in a hotel lobby can often accomplish so much more than the best written email or the best LinkedIn post or the best website EPK or even, a Zoom session with somebody. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big believer in Zoom sessions. I love what the PMA is doing with their virtual monthly coffee hours. I think they are fantastic and alone worth the price of admission. But there's just something about the face-to-face rapport that happens when you get people together, right? I think human beings are culturally and evolutionarily programmed to want to share airspace, and there's just a connection. I don't know if it's an energy thing or whatever, not to get too woo-woo, but all of that is really difficult to replicate online. And so if we assume that relationships are still the highest form of currency in the entertainment industry, and I submit that they are, then there is no better way that I know of to create relationship. It's like relationship jet fuel than face-to-face meetings, whether it's one-on-one, grabbing coffee, grabbing lunch, or going to a conference like the Taxi Road Rally or the Production Music Conference, aka PMC, which is coming up here in, just as of this recording, just about a month. My wife, Mrs. 52 Qs, and I are heading to LA, and we are going to be spending a week at PMC. So why are relationships still considered the highest form of currency? Well, it's because the industry relies on trust, deals, placements, working these relationships. At the end of the day, it starts with trust, and really trust over talent, because at a certain level, everyone is pretty good at what they do. Everybody makes good music, but the real question becomes, what separates you from someone else is, do people want to work with you? Are you reliable? Are you easygoing? Are you professional and yet not too stiff? Are you reliable? Are you someone that libraries and collaborators know will deliver on time? And at the end of the day, do you leave people feeling energized or drained? And so when you are working on networking and when you are working on building relationships, because that's really what networking is, then doing that face to face is the easiest and most effective way to accomplish that. I mean, think about it. Have you ever spent like an hour crafting a really good email? Or let's say you have something hard to say to somebody. It could be correction or it could be expressing your feelings. And you will spend an hour crafting a text or crafting an email so that every single word perfectly communicates the emotion, the vibe, everything that you are wanting to communicate. Now, think about how much easier that might be if you were able to look somebody in the eye and have those conversations. So that's why networking and face-to-face relationship building is so valuable. So what should you do before you go? How should you prepare if you are going to PMC or Road Rally or whatever? Well, first, start by kind of brushing up and polishing your online presence. Make sure that your bio is accurate, your credits are listed on whatever website or whatever. Make sure your about section is up to date and reflects who you are today. And speaking of bio, we don't need your life story on there. No more than a couple of hundred words, and make sure that things in your bio are relevant to the job that you are kind of applying for. It's like if you were to submit a job application and a resume to be an accountant, you would not put lifeguard as relevant work experience. It's not relevant work experience. So make sure that your website and everything is up to date, because it's probably pretty safe to assume that people will look you up, that a library might Google you if they are interested. And speaking of, across your social media platforms, whether it's LinkedIn, and yes, LinkedIn is still a thing, and I think is becoming increasingly valuable, especially as Facebook turns into the algorithmically driven slop that, in my opinion, it is becoming. I've deleted Facebook off of my phone and all this stuff. Anyway, that's Mark Zuckerberg, and I don't want to get into all of that. But there are a lot of music supervisors, there are a lot of publishers, and there are a lot of composers on LinkedIn. So yes, look at your LinkedIn, make sure that it is up to date, and make sure that there is consistency across your social media platforms and your web presence. Make sure that the bio over on LinkedIn is accurate to the bio on your website. And if you have something like a Real Crafter page with a bio, make sure that that is consistent and that you're using the same headshot across all of your media platforms so that it looks like it's the same story about you and your brand being told across the internet. Another thing to think about before you go is, what do you want to say about yourself? What is your niche? I believe that libraries aren't looking for someone who can do all things because, let's be honest, not many of us can do all things really well, and not all libraries are looking to publish and pitch all types of music. So if they can find a composer who does 1, 2, or 3 things exceptionally well, I believe that's going to be more valuable to a library. So think about, what is your superpower? What is your niche? What are you best at? What are you most passionate about? What flows out of you most easily? And before you go to a conference, think about how you would explain that. Okay. It's about being clear and not necessarily just a laundry list of items, but in a couple of sentences, think about how you would answer the question. So, what do you do? So, before you go, clarify your niche and understand how you want to present yourself. And that might mean that you actually practice your intro. I don't want to get it to be where it's like super overly rehearsed or anything. You don't have to like practice necessarily in front of a mirror and, hi, I am Dave Kropf, and it is good to meet you. I don't think we want to go there, but having given advanced thought to who you are, what you write, maybe what you want to be doing, maybe who you've worked with. We don't want to be super rambling, but we want to, brag on ourselves a little bit. And so we'll talk a little bit more about approaching networking a little bit later. And when do you say those things? We'll talk more about that here in just a moment. And the last thing I think we should think about, even before you step on a plane to go to a conference, is what is your goal? What are you wanting to accomplish at this conference? Are you looking to meet libraries? Are you looking to network with other composers? Are you there to learn about the industry from panels? Are you there just to kind of soak it up? Are you there to finally put a face to the name on the other end of an email for a library or a publisher that you've already been working with? Starting with knowing what your goal is will allow you to navigate the conference and achieve what you want to accomplish. And at the end of the day, will help it feel not nearly as overwhelming. And it might be, I just want to go in and experience it and go to Universal Studios. I don't know. That seems like a waste of money to go to PMC just to go to Universal. But having a strong idea of what the end game, what you're looking to get out of the conference. So once you know how to prepare to go, let's talk about what you should bring. And I think one of the most important things that you could bring is one of these: a business card. And yes, a physical business card. This is me. I know that there are digital business cards and all those things. I totally get it. But I still have from last year's PMC a stack of business cards, some of which have been hanging out on my desk. Admittedly, I am really, really bad at follow-up. We'll talk more about what to do after the conference here in a minute. But there are business cards for people that are not only like in the community, but folks that I now have relationship with. And I believe that if you don't give somebody a physical business card, and here's my business card, then it is so easy for them to completely forget about you. And I mean, there's something to be said about, the digital and it's in your phone, but I am much more likely to forget and lose a contact in my phone contacts than I am a physical business card. And so I strongly, strongly believe in physical business cards. And my business card is two-sided. We've got the one side that has my name and kind of what I do. And then on the back side, we have my phone number and a QR code, and you could check that out. And I do put the QR code because that goes to a website that is specifically for conferences, and it's my one sheet, right? It's not like just davekroft.com, which I know needs some TLC, but it is specifically an electronic press kit or an EPK. And that's what that QR code goes to. And it's a really quick way for people to pull up your information, your contact information. And I think they're great. I take two business cards. I have the one which is blank on one side, so that if I want to write notes or something, I can write on that. So it's blank, and I think it looks kind of cool. And then the back, has my my QR code. And then the other card I have is a 52 Qs card, which just says about the community. And this is what I hand out to folks who are interested in 52 Qs. Because as I am going, and Mrs. 52 Qs, as we are going to the conference, it's part 52 Qs as a host, it's part 52 Qs as a publisher, it's part Dave as a composer and working on relationships with libraries, and it's part Shannon as the publishing kind of maven of the company. And so I have my personal card. I believe Shannon's going to have her own personal cards, and then we have these community cards. So we know that the QR code goes to a website, an EPK, and I would recommend not just your website, but a page set aside specifically for attendance goers or conference goers that has information about you, quick one-pager, and has a playlist. Or it could be a Real Crafter page, or it could be an embedded disco playlist or whatever. Do not put in SoundCloud playlists. Folks, hear me. Don't put in SoundCloud playlist. I still, yes, have a SoundCloud subscription, but I am done handing that link out to people just because of ads and all of the other stuff, all right? And we've talked about that plenty. But on that reel, put 5 to 8 of your best cues focused on easy access so that's easy to find on the page, and be sure that you test all your links and all of that. But this isn't the place for your full catalog. This is a place to brag about yourself, to show a potential library what it is that you do. And so here is mine. And do make sure that it is mobile friendly, because chances are they're going to be scanning it on their phone. And start with, how does it look on a phone? And so here's mine, right? It's got a little sexy picture of Dave there, and my placements through some screenshots, quick little bio, contact information, some client quotes. There's some bio information, more client quotes, placements that you can see some of my featured placements that I've gotten, and a disco playlist of selected cues. And so that's pretty much the page. Oh, and I also have information about the podcast, because I do more than just write music. And so I want my EPK page to be a little bit more. But make sure that it is mobile friendly and it showcases who you are and what you do. So have a business card with a QR code. I would not use those electronic cards. To this day, I could not tell you the name of anybody who gave me one. But here, this is one from Patrick Byrne. I met him and his wife last year, and there's his business card right there. And that will trigger a memory that I can then work with. Again, I'll talk more about what to do with these afterwards. So in addition to your business card, bring a notepad, a book, or a notebook, or an app, or some way to take notes, to jot down names, conversations. This is where having a pen very handy. I will often stick a pen actually on my lanyard, so it's always right there, and jot down information on business cards. Just some way that you can follow up. Your future self will absolutely thank you for this. You might think you'll remember, but chances are you won't. If you're like me, later down the line, you won't remember what this relationship could have been. Also, bring some practical things like breath mints. Yep, I am a person who drinks coffee pretty much all day, every day, but I will have a little tin of mints. And if I am at a networking event, I will pop breath mints in because you're going to be pretty close to folks, especially in an environment where it can be pretty loud. And so you want to have, fresh breath so that somebody isn't offended by being near you. Okay, so maybe offended is strong, but it's something to think about. Very, very practical. Again, maybe this is more autobiographical than anything, but having breath mints or some gum, having water bottles, comfortable shoes, these small things make a really, really big difference when you're going to a conference. And if you've never been to one of these conferences before, they can be kind of taxing. And we'll talk a little bit later about how to kind of deal with the mental cost of going to these, but more on that here in a minute. So let's talk about how to approach networking. If we accept that networking is ultimately about relationship building, then think about any of the relationships, any of the meaningful relationships that you are in. Could be a spouse, could be a friend, could be your children, or whatever. And those relationships often start with listening more than talking. If you start a conversation with somebody that you just met, asking them about themselves, then they will tell you because they are just as passionate about what they do as you are. And we all love talking about things that we are passionate about. And so if you open a conversation saying, "Hi, I'm Dave. It's great to meet you. Tell me about yourself. What do you do?" and have them open up about themselves, then 9 times out of 10, they're going to turn around and ask you, which opens the door. So instead of saying, "Hi, I see that you're sitting here alone, and I'm Dave, and I write music, and here's my business card, and here's what I can do for you." Instead, if you start with, "What do you do? Tell me about yourself," then it instantly builds rapport. And it goes so much further than just hammering out your credits, right? Because if relationships are built on trust, and we're talking about, as we are working with libraries, being much more of a partnership than they are, a kind of this transaction kind of a thing. And the conversation isn't, "I'm Dave, and can you get my music in your library? Can you get me placements?" No, instead, it's like, "Here's who you are, and I understand having listened to you, and I think I can help you accomplish your goals." Because if we treat every interaction like a pitch meeting, first of all, that's exhausting, but that doesn't really create genuine connection. I believe that the music talk and everything, that will happen organically. But if you start from a place of relationship, getting to know somebody, learning about who they are before you tell them about who you are, then the business comes second. I remember from my very first PMC hanging out on the patio of the hotel, outside in the bar patio, and just hanging out, talking, having some beers. One of the members of 52Qs had a relationship with a library, and they were hanging out with us, and we must have sat out there for like 2 or 3 hours, just getting to know each other. And at the end, it was like, "So yeah, let's keep talking. I would love to send you some things. I think this would be a really good fit." Fast forward, I've got cues placed in their library. But it started with getting to know them, hearing what they're about, and yes, talking about all things, not just business and library and publishing, but also sports and the weather and all that kind of chit chat, small talk. But focus on making a genuine connection first, and allow the business to evolve out of that. Keep in mind, this is a long game. You are planting seeds now that might not even poke up through the soil for another year. Every single one of these business cards is a seed. And everybody that has one of my business cards has a little sapling that can be kind of cultivated into a long-term relationship. The production music industry is very, very long, and not just in getting paid and getting placed, but also in building relationships. So the biggest piece of advice I could teach you about networking is let them talk about themselves first. Be invited to talk about yourself. And then don't be shy. I mean, remember, most of the people there are there for the exact same reason you are, which is creating real, genuine face-to-face conversations and real, genuine face-to-face networking and relationship building. Now, for some of you, that might be challenging. Okay. You might be, a little shy. You might have some social anxiety, and that's totally okay. But just know that everybody there is there to meet you and to meet one another. You don't have to apologize for introducing yourself. This is what we are there to accomplish. And, to that end, don't be shy about, plopping down at a table. I know at PMC, there are these group networking lunches and everything, and there are tables everywhere. There are all these open seats, and it might be tempting to kind of have your clutch of people and glob onto them. I am mega guilty about that, especially bringing a crew of folks from 52Qs. I have a built-in community within a community, and all of the 52Qs folks who go are going to have built-in friends that they can connect with. And that can be a really good kind of safety net, as long as it's not a safety blanket. And so you might need to kind of break out a little bit. And if you see somebody like at a table eating by themselves, ask them, hey, is this seat taken? Mind if I sit down? And then ask them about themselves. A lot of really great conversations happen over food and over coffee. I think that meals are the best way to kind of, it kind of depressurizes the situation a little bit. Whereas if you're going to like a networking kind of event and you're all there to network, and it feels like almost like speed dating. I don't know how effective that is, but if you're all just sitting around having lunch or having coffee or just kind of chit chat like at a bar or something like that, then that can be a real kind of social lubricant, which goes a long way to setting the stage for conversations to happen. So if you are at one of these breakfasts or one of these lunches and somebody's sitting by themselves or there's clearly an open seat, then just ask to sit down. They're probably going to say yes. You ask them about themselves, and then you're in. That's like all it takes. And they might ask you to like, hey, we're going to go grab lunch. You want to join us? Or, hey, we're meeting up with the head of so-and-so. Or here, I would love to introduce you to this person. Say yes. Say yes to invitations, even if maybe you're a little tired or you might be a little shy. But so I encourage you to practice coming out of your shell a little bit. But if you are invited to go grab a drink or to go grab coffee or to go meet this person, then say yes. Those casual moments can often lead to some of the best, most natural connections. And the library that I was talking about earlier that we just kind of hung out like at the bar or in the bar area, that's how that started. It started as just a super casual invitation. And if you meet somebody and they said, yeah, man, we should grab coffee or we should grab lunch, don't just say, yeah, that's a good idea, shake hands and walk away. Offer to set a time. Hey, man, I'm actually free tomorrow at noon, or don't be afraid to get up early. What if we grabbed breakfast before the first session and set a date and a time? Now, obviously, you don't want to be too pushy and you want to stay flexible. Let the other person kind of set the pace on that, but offer to set a real time. It's way too easy to just say, yeah, I'll have my people talk to your people, and then it never, ever happens. And so if you have an invitation and there is an opportunity to continue a conversation at a later date, then say yes to that. Okay. So we've talked a lot so far about a lot of output of energy. You're meeting people, you're maybe taking risks, you're sitting next to complete strangers over lunch or food, and you've done all of this practice talking about yourself, and you're cold, you're going in cold and shaking hands, but that can be, well, exhausting. The first time I went to the Taxi Road Rally, and the first and only time I've been to a road rally, it was massively overwhelming. I was so wrung out. And I think for me, it was because I went to PMC and then the road rally. And the road rally, I need to kind of spread those out. They were like 6 weeks apart, and road rally is just a lot more people. It's a lot louder. I hadn't fully recharged, and I found myself needing to kind of escape to the room. Now, Mrs. 52Qs and I, we call this container space. I need container time. And so if you are, staying at the hotel, this is part of why I stay at the hotel at the conference, is so I can just zip upstairs for a moment and just take 10 minutes, maybe that panel you really wanted to go to, but you don't have energy for, maybe you watch it virtually from the room. But I think it's super important, whether it's your hotel room or a cafe or a quiet place somewhere, give yourself a place that is safe, that you can breathe and reset before jumping in. Because when you're going to these conferences, you're kind of always on. You're just on the whole time. And for me, being, somewhat recognizable, and I want to meet all of these folks. And so what I don't want to do is like sit in the lobby and go, don't talk to me, right? If I am out and about on the floor, then I absolutely want to meet people. But if I need some downtime, then I will go chill out in my room. And I don't apologize for that. And neither should you. Okay, we all need some downtime. And so if that invitation that I just told you to say yes to means that you don't really have the energy for it, and you're being honest with yourself and not just being, too shy to go, then maybe you do say no. I don't know. I feel like I just contradicted myself. But I did say no last year to an invitation to something that was like really, really late. And I was just like, I think I need to pass on that. But having a container, having a space, managing your energy so that you can jump back into the fray and not feel completely wrung out. I mean, let's be clear, you are going to feel wrung out by the end of this. And if you are doing it effectively, then it will come at a higher energy cost than if you just stayed at home or if you just went to some Zoom meetings. That's okay. Right? It's okay to be a little exhausted. It's kind of like coming back from vacation and being tired from the vacation. But having a space set aside, your hotel room, cafe, or whatever, that you can kind of flitter away to and recharge so that you can come back, I think is absolutely vital. And you will see me do this. Me and Shannon will absolutely disappear into the hotel room for an hour or so and then jump back in. All right. So you're home. What happens next? Well, the conference really isn't over, because if the conference is looking to create relationships, then you have to work on maintaining those relationships. And this is where I suck. This is what I am really bad at, is the follow-up, because I'll get, business cards and I'll put them here on my desk. There they are. I'm looking at them and I want to send a follow-up email to each of these people and say, hey, it was really nice meeting you. And hopefully you took notes so that when I see a business card, I can be like, oh, this person, they do this. But if you don't take any notes and you don't follow up, then what was once a really warm lead at a conference becomes ice cold. And if you wait too long and then you follow up, then it's, I don't know, is it almost insulting to follow up like months and months later? I don't know. But the conference is the start of the relationship, but the only way to get that little sapling of a relationship to bloom into something really, really full and productive is to keep tending to that relationship. And that takes the form of follow-up. Send up a thoughtful message right after the conference. Just really quick, a personal connection, not a form letter or anything, but just something that you can send as a follow-up to say, it was great to meet you. And while you're at it, go ahead and connect on LinkedIn. You did polish up your LinkedIn page, and your link is probably on your QR code. So follow up with them on LinkedIn. If you see them at the PMA Zoom session, say hi to them. Whisper them, direct message. Oh, hey man, it's great to see you. It was so nice meeting you at PMC. Nothing more than that. You're just tending to the relationship, right? It's like a little bonsai tree. You're trimming here and watering here and making sure that this is growing into a blooming plant that hopefully will bear fruit, that will forward both of your careers, not just your career, but their professional career and their goals as well. And I am committing in front of God and everywhere, at least YouTube audience, that I am not going to allow a stack of business cards to sit on my desk for months and months before I follow up. Especially after I just gave you that big giant speech about how important business cards are. But I'm committing to you right now in front of everybody that I'm going to be better at this. And so if I meet you at PMC and you get a card, then absolutely follow up with me 100%. That's how this all works. And this is what makes the investment worth it. Whether you're driving up from San Diego, flying from Orlando, or flying from Spain or Switzerland, you're spending a lot of money and a lot of emotional capital to get there. And so let's work together to make the most out of our time together. What about you? How do you approach conferences? What are your thoughts? Have you gone to PMC or the Taxi Road Rally? Have you had a good experience? Are there any tips that maybe I left off? Please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. I read all of those, and I'm sure that there are things that I have missed. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can join us over at 52Qs, including all of our subscription tiers. And when we return, we are going to be taking a listen to Shanks for the Memories, which is an ominous cue, but it's an ominous intrigue cue. We'll be right back. Every week I talk about how this episode and the podcast and the community, the channel, would not be possible without the amazing support of our family, friends, and neighbors, subscribers of 52Qs, who do pay their actual real-life money to keep all of this going. And in addition to being thriving members of the community, as well as supporting me and Shannon and everything that we're doing here, they also receive extra perks like live streams, workshops, Zoom feedback sessions, hundreds and hundreds of hours of video archives, weekly Q breakdowns, production music almanac, living ebook, and the opportunities to submit to real music libraries. Now, it's free to join 52Qs. You can just go to 52qs.com and sign up, be a member of the community. We would love to have you. It will always be free to join the community. But if you've been watching, or if maybe this is your first time, but if you're wondering, is there a way to kind of level up my production music skills in the industry, meeting like-minded, super friendly, very generous composers? Then why don't you think about subscribing? Memberships start at around $4 a month, and we would love to have you. Again, that's 52qs.com. So that was Shanks for the Memories, which is an ominous intrigue cue that was written for a recent golf documentary, and that documentary has now come out, and I'm not sure if it's quite available yet. I'll need to check on that, but this cue was used, and really happy for the placement. For you family and friends folks, be on the lookout for a complete breakdown of this cue. I'm going to be talking about the sounds that I used, melodic choices, harmonic choices, even the mix, and some of the sounds, including a pad that I made myself from a very interesting source. So family and friends, be on the lookout for that. But that's going to do it for us this week. You definitely want to tune in next week, because I want to unpack my go-to method for referencing. So I'm going to talk about how I approach extracting musical information from a reference and how I use that in my own cues. So you definitely want to stick around for that. But thank you so much for joining us. However you found me, I just know that I appreciate you. I know you have a lot of options out there, and the best way for you to kind of pay that forward or just to show your appreciation is to like, subscribe, and do all of those types of things. But I hope you've had an amazing week, and I trust that next week is going to be even better. How do I know that? It's because I believe that the universe has amazing plans just for you. Until next time, peace. The 52 Cues podcast is copyright 2025 818 Studios, all rights reserved. The music played on the podcast is copyright of their respective owners and is used with permission and for educational purposes only. For more information, including joining the community, submitting your cue for review, or becoming a member subscriber of 52 Cues, head over to 52cues.com.